Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to just go through like a download session from Laguna Seca. So that was, I think, a week ago today. and just kind of cover all the things that I learned while we were there. First and foremost, if you've been watching some of the videos, specifically the last set of videos from Laguna Seca in, I think, July, you may know that the car was suffering from some brake fade, and wasn't sure if this was pad fade or boiling fluid. Typically, pad fade would be you go to step on the brakes and the brakes are really hard and the car just doesn't stop. And then fluid fade would be you go to step on the brakes and the pedal's kind of spongy. And in this case, I would say it's almost a little bit of both. At least it was in July. The same thing happened again this time around at Seika, and so we bled the brakes in August, so the fluid was fresh, and then we got a higher compound, which should have been able to take a higher temperature range, and we still sort of ran into the same things. It wasn't as bad as before, but definitely in the first session there were two places that wasn't getting all the braking that I was expecting out of the car, and I think that kind of put a hamper on what I was able to do with the car the rest of the day, just because I had to play within this limit that I had. So definitely need to do something. I think because we're at the highest or most aggressive compound that we can purchase from G-Lock, I'm going to try to switch brake fluids here and see if that has any effect. Right now I'm using the Motul RBF 600, and I think I will try to switch to the Castrol SRF and just see if that does anything. I think there's a little bit of a challenge here around the brake kit and the weight of the car, but I'm not 100% sure. So it's definitely a weak link, and we need to figure out a way to address it. Okay, in terms of the lap itself, uh, I have the Podium app loaded up here. So if you've been around a little bit, you know that I like to use Track Attack. I think Track Attack has moved to a subscription model, and I haven't played with it since. I don't know what capabilities are there for free. Um, but I was asked to beta test some of the new Podium software that's coming out, so I figured this would be a good time to use it. If you caught the data logging video, Podium is a platform that comes on the Autosports Labs race capture data loggers, and you can upload and look at your data live. So it can live stream data to the pits, and then you can review it afterwards. This is an application that lets us look at some of those data logs, right? And so right here I have the fastest lap pulled up from this past Monday, so a week ago. Lap time here was 143.7. This is the fastest lap of the day. And actually, there was a lot of 143s, so I think a lot of 143.7s, 143.8s. A little bit was limited by traffic, but it was a relatively attainable lap time. And I think if it was a little bit clearer, less traffic, and a little more time in the car, I think a low 143 is definitely possible, maybe even a 142. Um, One of the biggest takeaways, I think, from looking at this data is the friction circle. Um, so if you've ever looked at any track videos online, you'll see like a G ball, and you can kind of see how many G's the car's pulling at a given moment, acceleration, braking, turning and braking, whatever. Really, what you're looking for is the shape of the path of that ball. Right, you don't want to see the ball bouncing around. You want to look like it's moving very smoothly, and then you want to see almost like a D-shaped pattern and less of a V. A D-shaped pattern would mean that between braking and cornering, you are using the maximum amount of potential grip that the tire has to give you. So a really common way of looking at that information is a scatter plot, which is what we've got here down here in yellow. And one of the things that I noticed from this event was that this scatter plot is getting closer and closer to a D shape. So it's not 100% there, but it's not a V or like an inverted shape, which I'll show you here in a second. But I'm getting a nice curve when I transition from braking to acceleration. So that'd be like the braking zone, turning down into the apex. I'm using more of that tire. And I don't know if it's because I'm getting more comfortable at Laguna Seca, just understanding where to brake now, how hard I can brake, or if it's the stiffer springs, controlling that pitch and the roll of the car, making it much less, and so quicker to find platform on the car and kind of using as much of the grip as possible. So for example here, if I run through this corner and we focus on on the scatter plot on the bottom right, and the kind of the shadow or the shape of the white dots, as I run into the first turn, there's a little bit of a bobble here. You see how that line, I slam on the brakes, the balls move to the far left, and then they come back, and then they move downward. There's a bobble there. That's not what I want to see. I want to see a nice continuous curve, something similar to what you're seeing after that bobble. You see that? That's me using a good amount of the friction or the grip that the car has available. This little bobble here, not so great. And I think that might be a little bit of the heel toe action here. I'm not 100% sure, but that's something to work on. If we continue forward onto the next corner, so move through this turn 2, go on to turn 3. So we're on the gas. There we go, slammed on the brake, and you see how the white dots move to the far left and then create this nice curve as I make a right-handed turn. That's what I want to see, is that I'm transitioning from full brake or maximum brake or whatever I need to brake for that corner, and then getting this nice friction circle, this nice curve, meaning that transition from brake and steering to gas is nice and smooth. That happens again for T4. Let's see, T5. Oops. T5. There's a little bit of a bobble here, right there. I don't know if you can see it. But again, a nice curve. And then T6, not so great. Like T6 is like, you see that I'm on the brakes and the balls fall back and then move outward. So there's some time or grip left to be utilized in T6 for sure. So we can probably net some more time there. And I think the rest of it is pretty decent, right? So again, like a nice curve there. Nice curve here. And the last corner, T11, good curve as well. So I think that's what I want to see out of my friction circle. I would wager that the past event was not good. So here, let me go ahead and pull that up here. If we go back to Laguna Seca from July, which is this one, I don't know where the fastest time came. It may have been here. Session 2. Sorry, I'm a little bit under the weather. That explains kind of like the stuffy nose and all that stuff. Okay, so here it is overlaid. And we can kind of see, let's see here. This, I don't know. These, okay, let's go into turn 2, on the brakes, and there's still a bobble here. So it's a common problem for me, a bobble. There's a nice little curve at the end, and you can see between the two laps that are, I don't know, 3 months apart. After the bobble, it's decent. T3, not as great. So the curve that I get from the most recent event is more pronounced, and the curve that I'm getting from the event in July is more of a line. So let's go ahead and turn this off. Turn this one off. That still ended up being yellow. That's okay, so let's take a look. So this is more like a line, right? There's not so much a curve that's happening here. It's more of a line. Um, that's better than like an inversion. So like an inversion would be, instead of a line straight across, it would sink down, and almost be like an inverted curve. I don't know how to. There's probably a graphical word for it. I don't know. Hyperbolic. I have no idea. I have no clue. And that, you can see this. Okay, so this is again a straight line for T4, T5. See more of like a straight line that's happening here, down right here. T6. There's a big bobble over here towards mid corner or corner exit. So overall, I think the use of the friction or the grip on the car um, in July was not as high. And I would, we had different tires there, but it was, the friction circle just doesn't look as clean. And I'm not sure, again, if that's because I'm starting to get used to the track, or if it's because the springs are giving me the confidence to take more advantage of what's available in the car. Let's see, so we covered brakes, we covered springs. There's still some issues with braking points. I think T2, braking into T2 can be worked on. T3, T4, I think are pretty good. T5 is pretty good. T6 definitely needs some work. What is this? 7, 8, 9. 9 is a very weird turn because you get on the gas and you might tap the brake a little bit and you kind of coast. And a lot of times in a lot of the videos that you will see from this past event, cars are pulling away from me there. I mean, I catch them immediately afterwards, so in T10. So I don't know if they're gaining on me in T9, but I'm getting a better run out of T9 than T10, which is why I catch them. But visibly in quite a few turns, in quite a few of the videos, they managed to pull away from me there. So I'm not sure if it's a line problem, a driver problem. I'm just noticing that people are pulling away from me there. Also, it's happening as well in T2, in a lot of the videos. And the guys that I catch, I think it's just I'm getting on the brakes harder. But you can see some of the faster guys are getting out of T2 a lot better. And I'm not sure why that is. So there's definitely some work to be done there. I think in this car, the strong corners are 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, and 10. I think either the car is really set up well for those corners, or as a driver, like, I'm comfortable with those corners because I tend to get good run, I tend to be able to close gaps really well in those corners, but in other corners, not so much. So I don't know if it's a platform thing, something to do with the car, or maybe just like a driver thing. I'm not taking the corner correctly. Definitely some work to be done there. And then I am still suffering from an issue where when I get on the brakes, I'm still tapping the gas. It's not as bad as it was before, but it's still there. Let's see. The run up after T6 up the hill, Ray Hall Straight, didn't try to use third, so needed write that back in my notes or something, and just make sure that the next time I go there, really try to downshift going into T6 for the third gear, and see if that helps with the run up the hill. Otherwise, I was pretty satisfied with what we were able to pull off with the car. Again, I think maybe like a 142 might be the limit of what I can pull out of the car, but it's pretty satisfied. It was a great day. If you have caught any of the other videos, you can see that there is a clip, like a 1-minute clip of two very close calls at Laguna. So one was in session 1 running up the hill after T6, where I try to pass a Miata on the outside. I guess that's 7. It's not even really a turn. It's kind of like a straight. But what you end up doing is as you go up and crest for the corkscrew, you cut from the left side of the track to the right side of the track. And I thought the Miata had seen me, and I kind of went to go for the pass in that exact position, or in that spot on the track, and then he cuts over, and I had to slam on the brakes to make sure I don't cause collision. 100% my fault, right? I was under the impression that he saw me, but it's always up to the passing car to make a clean pass. And that's definitely one of the places where it's like a sketchy pass because you are going hard on the brakes immediately after. Um, I don't like to pass under braking. I thought I would have cleared him before I had to brake, but suffice to say, it's just a lesson learned there. Um, as a passing car, you can't make aggressive moves, and you need to make sure that the driver in front of you is aware that you're there. In the second incident, we're going into T5, and I was behind a black Corvette. And as we enter the corner, the Corvette slows a lot faster than expected, and much faster than I can slow my car down. As I mentioned earlier, the car is heavy, and so there's like, even if I were to bury my foot deeper into the brake pedal, it won't slow down any faster. Like I think that's just the limits of the brakes. And so I bury my foot into the pedal, and I can see immediately that I'm closing in on this Corvette, and there's just not enough real estate there. So I go around him, and instead of trying to keep it on the track, just let it go off, right? A lot of times when you try to save it, you can, like, that's when shit hits the fan, and you can really spin out or whatever it may be. And I knew that there was a very fast Honda Civic right behind me. So just let it go off the track, collect the car, wait till it's clear, get back on. The lesson learned there is that although we're an advanced group, um, not everyone's going to be cornering at the same speed, or the capability of the cars are all going to be completely different. So again, you need to leave more buffer there, in case you run into a car or you catch up to a car that it may not be at the same pace that you are. So that was an oversight on my part, right? Again, I'm the car in the rear. So another lesson learned there, that just to give more space, and then make, I guess, brake earlier, and then get them run out of the corner, and then pass a Corvette or pass the car for the next corner. So very lucky here that those two incidences didn't result in any form of an accident. And that for me, there was a big lesson takeaway, or a big takeaway from myself. Let's see here. I think that just about covers kind of all the things that happened at Seca. It was a good day. It was super fun. Met a lot of cool people I hadn't seen in a while. And moving forward, I think for the car, now that we're in November, probably not going to see too much action for maybe the next 2 to 3 months. So that'll give me some time to kind of work on the car and deal with like summertime cooling issues. In this particular event, oil temps and coolant temps were totally fine. Essentially, I could take the car out there, beat on it for 20 minutes, and pull it back into the pits, and there was no problem. So yeah, I think in the off season, thinking about summertime cooling issues, and then maybe it's time to take the car and move it into maybe like a time attack, like a time attack. I don't know, something where we can grid the cars based on time. Allow me a little bit more room to push the car a little harder. So got to look around and see if there's any options for time attack events around here. So I'm gonna figure out what the process is for that, and we'll kind of update you guys as we go along. And I think that is it. So if you guys have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to ask in the comment section below. As a reminder, all this telemetry stuff is now available online for you guys to review. So if you head over to Racecar WRX or racecarrex.com and click on telemetry, it'll kick you over to the podium platform, and all of the data logs are there for you to kind of take a peek at. I don't think you can download them, but it's all there. And so if you're kind of like a data nerd and you just kind of want to take a peek at and see what type of data we're getting, or just are kind of curious, I would encourage you guys to do that. And until then, we'll see you at the next video. Thanks a lot.